All right, we're on. We're recording. This is David P. France, and I'm coming to you from Basel, Switzerland once again. And today I am speaking with a longtime friend of mine from University of Pennsylvania, Lisa Andujar.
Hey.
Lisa, can we say do we say Andujar or do we say Andujar? How do you?
It's Andujar.
Andujar.
There's an accent mark on the U.
Yeah, you got that right. Now, I asked because I remember. I think you're saying it before. You're telling people before. How you been?
Good. Everything's good.
Everything's
I'm
good.
in the Bronx, living in the Bronx now. Yep.
Where? I mean, is it like South Bronx or north, more north?
Well, I live in Riverdale, so like
okay.
real Bronx,
yeah, okay.
so it'd be
All
like,
right.
yeah, I don't think so, but.
Okay. Okay. Now we know. So look, tell everybody what you've been up to. Tell people. I mean, we're going to try to make this interview so that it is, so people not specific to Penn will know what's going on. So if you can tell people what you're up to now, what are you doing? What is it you do for a living? Your day to day, that kind of thing.
Okay. I think the first thing I would say is I'm a single parent. So my daughter is 12. She's growing up lovely. She's smart. I love her. She's the best. But as for me, I have my MBA. So after Penn, I went and got my MBA, and I worked at AT&T. And to show you, well, we all know how old we are. So I was part of the group that started the internet. So I was part of the first team that sold internet services to companies.
Okay.
So I did that. So that was pretty exciting. That was one of the reasons I went to AT&T when I left Michigan. Right? And I worked there for about 8 years, and then they offered a package, and I had started getting interested in nonprofit. I did this United Way project blueprint where you learn how to be on a board and stuff like that. And so I had gotten, that's my phone. I had gotten into nonprofit. So I was on board, said, you know what, I think I want to do this for a living. So I took a package at AT&T, from AT&T, and I went to the American Cancer Society. And I worked in Queens, where I'm originally from. And I was responsible for the Making Strides Against Breast Cancer walk. I did fundraising. And that was really exciting. I mean, when you're in corporate America, you don't really ever see the bottom line. Like, how does AT&T really impact lives? Like Hallmark was able to do that, but I don't think AT&T and a lot of corporations really tap into how does this benefit your life, except for, okay, you can call grandma, but. So when I went to the American Cancer Society and I had to cold call and talk to people who.
So you were in it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I had to encourage other people to cold call and go knock on the doors and be like, you didn't make your 20 calls today. It was hard. But in talking to people, when you make that call and the person on the other end says, I just found out my sister has breast cancer, and they say, I'm so glad that you called, and yes, I will form a group and I will raise money. And and then you go to the walk and you see the person. It's just amazing. So I was hooked. But as you know, fundraising is hard unless you're natural and love it, which I'm like, look, you're gonna give us money or not? Can't. So so I did that, and then after 3 years, I wanted to change, and I'd always been trying to get into higher education. So I started that trek probably in 2004, just talking to people, calling people, reaching out, finding out how jobs in higher education translate to corporate America, and being able to merge those and be able to talk to it, try to get a job. But it took a long time. But in between there, I moved to Atlanta, I got married, I had a baby. I went to Atlanta, did not like it. That's all I say about it.
Well, you're not gonna go into it, Lisa?
The people. Sorry, any Atlantans. I love you guys, all my friends, but I just couldn't really connect, I felt. And I was part of the sorority, I was Mocha Moms, I had church life, so it was good, but I just never felt really connected. And I always tell people, I mean, you're always in your car, it's spread out, so your friends live at least 45 minutes away. So I think that's what made it really challenging for me. And I always tell people about when you compare New York, you know, I'm a diehard New Yorker, but when you compare New York and other place, well, I'll just say Atlanta because that's the only place I really lived. If you get on the subway, you connect. Right. It's amazing, and you don't recognize it because you grow up like that, and everybody's always connecting with you. Right. And I miss that. So it's even if you're on a crowded subway, somebody's in front of you, and you're standing by the door. That person looks at you, and through their eyes, they're like, "Are you gonna move out of my way?" Like, and you give them the look back, like, "I got you. I know you're getting off." You know, all of that, and you could be sitting there talking about something with your friends, and the guy across the way joins in the conversation, and that's okay. It's okay. Yes. When you walk down the street, if you happen, somebody could be rushing by you, and they overhear that you need to find where St. Patrick's Cathedral is. Oh, that's down there. Stop. You're connected. Yes. And so that's what I really missed in New York. So, and then my marriage was falling apart. So I'm like looking around. I had this beautiful big house. I'm like, why do I have this big house? Why am I down here? And my daughter was only 2.5 or 3. And I said, you know what? I need an escape plan. I gotta get home. I had dreams. When I had the dream of me driving up 95, and I saw this sign that said New Jersey Turnpike, that's when I was like, I'm going. I gotta go.
So you were in Atlanta, and then you moved back to New Jersey, or New York, New Jersey, New York. And did you have something there before, or you just moved?
No, I just moved. I had been looking, I just continued to look, but I was able to get an adjunct position, 2 adjunct positions at 2 different schools. So I taught leadership, I taught marketing, the core class of marketing. In one school, I was kind of a marketing professor, and the other one, I was a management professor, where I taught leadership.
And what type of school was it? Was it a university?
Were small. No, they were small, for-profit universities, but they were legitimate. They were, you know, they had their paperwork in order and everything.
Right. I understand.
Degrees.
But I mean, when you become an adjunct professor, right? Or I mean, that's a huge, in my opinion, it's a huge deal, right? And you know how when we interacted with professors at university, the power that a professor can have over students is tremendous. So
yeah, it was. Yeah, I guess so. I think I did impact a couple of students.
Yeah.
You know, it was interesting because the students weren't. I shouldn't say. I'll say this and then I'll
retract it or something, clean it up or what?
Well, the students weren't as serious as we were.
Right.
But then I think about myself at Penn, like, I should have really been more serious than I was. So it was the equivalent. And one of the schools, the students didn't really respect the school. They're like, oh, I'm just here, I'm just trying to, you know, whatever. And then some of them took it very seriously. So that I really enjoyed teaching them. So, and then I just kept networking, and I finally networked with the right person. Is one of my friends from Mocha Moms, which is a organization for stay-at-home moms, which I was for like 4 years. But she had gotten a job at Columbia, and I reached out to her and said, hey, how'd you get that job? And she talked about how everything lined up so perfectly for her. And I just thought, man, how am I gonna get that job? How am I gonna get a job if it has to line up so perfectly like that? But you just keep praying, you know? Keep praying, because that's exactly how I got the job.
So wait. You prayed. Do you specifically remember what the prayer was, or did you? I mean, was it just in your head, or did you say God verbally? Did it come out?
Yes. God, I need a job, a real job, because being an adjunct, you know, they don't pay anything.
Right.
And fortunately, I was staying with my mother, and my daughter was young. And I just always prayed, you know, I just keep praying. So when she told me how she got hers, said, well, if you could just introduce me to the human resources. And sure enough, I went and met with the human resources person, this woman, Lorraine Smith. And I sat with her, and I had no clue, because I was just talking, showed her my resume, which of course has all of these skills on it. But how you connect it to what they need in higher education, I didn't even know where I would fit. Would I fit in the fundraising, alumni relations area? Would I fit with student development? And sure enough, when we were talking, I don't know how it came up, but something about Criminal Minds, the TV show came up, and she was, I love that show. Bam, instant connection. This is my new best friend. She's like, I'm gonna help you get a job. She was determined. And so I had her, and then I was volunteering at church. And this woman, one of the things I was doing was selling plaques for pews. You put your name on the plaque as a fundraiser.
Sure.
And one of the ladies there, she was buying a plaque. It turns out she was a professor at Columbia Business School, where Lorraine works. So I told her, said, oh, trying to get a job there. Oh, pass me your resume. And so I sent her my resume. Maduthe Akinola, I love her. I work with her now. And then it moves on, right? And so Lorraine, my meeting with Lorraine, it took a year before she called me and said, I got a job for you. I want you to do it. And it was with the marketing department. And so I'm like, oh, marketing major, that's me, do this. I go in there and I don't get the job.
Right.
Because knowing what I know now after working there, I went in there with this MBA and I could do this. And oh yeah, if you need me to teach, I could even teach. If you and knowing what I know, they just want you to be an administrator. Don't try to be one of us. Stay in your lane. We need you to run this thing so we don't have to do any paperwork.
Right.
So I learned from that I probably said the wrong thing. So then so all right, Lorraine has my resume, Maduthe has my resume. What my best friend down in Atlanta, and Victoria, my daughter's best friend, her daughter and Victoria, the same age, they're best friends. Down in Atlanta, Laurel Morgan Roberts is a management professor someplace else. So she's, she's along the lines with our Columbia professors. So she says, hey, I think my friend is now the chair of the management division. I'll send your resume there.
Okay.
So she sends my resume to Dana Phillips, who's African American as well. And Madupe says, I see her in church one day and she said, hey, we're looking for someone. And I said, well, I didn't get the job in marketing. She says, well, I don't know, I'll pass your resume on. Lorraine calls me back and says, I want you to interview for management. I don't know why they didn't hire you. That was messed up. And somebody had told me, I think maybe it was Madupe who mentioned that they already hired somebody.
Right.
So she said, oh, I think we hired, but I'll pass it along anyway. So I'm like, I go to Lorraine and say, I heard they hired somebody. She says, no, like she has the power to make that happen. I'm like, okay, so I go in there and apparently Damon, Madupe, and Lorraine all send the same resume. So that's how it happened.
So it almost as you said before, it lined up.
It lined up. Just like my friend Karn. And I go in there and it's mine to lose. And so I got Damon there. I'm replacing another woman who was very lovely. She was also African American. So I'm sitting in there like, wow, this place is really diverse. But it turns out that the management division is the diversity of the whole school. So,
what division? The what division?
It's management. So this is the group that does strategy.
Okay.
They teach all the leadership and diversity courses. They teach entrepreneurship.
For all of Columbia or just business school?
For the business school.
For the business school, okay. Well, Lisa, I mean, so in other words, you did, things lined up. Things lined up.
They did, and I'm gonna tell you, this is the best job I've ever had. It's just so perfectly fit for me. And that I get to interact with people. The people that I work with are really wonderful. The faculty are supportive. I have a good team who supports me, and I just really like it.
Yeah, and that's where you are now, currently.
That's where I am now. I get to work from home.
Well, it's interesting that this is what I want to talk about. You brought up that you weren't as serious as you could have been at Penn. Can you give the audience a background, I guess maybe, about what was going on when we were there at Penn? Because this, I think, people may not see this as interesting. I think it's interesting because there are a lot of, we were living in a particular time where I'd say that we were the beginning of the second wave post-integration.
Right.
We didn't really understand that fully, I believe.
Right.
But once we got out into the real world, it became even more clear than it was when we were at Penn, that we were in that particular time period.
Yeah.
Would you say that that's?
It was an interesting time period, and you and I have spoken about this, and since our last conversation, I really thought about that our parents were the 60s movement. It was clear what they were struggling for. It was clear what they were fighting for. And then we go to Penn and we're like, oh, we're on the same level, but not really. Because fortunately, there were enough of us that we could carve out our own little worlds. And in low rise, you have a rough day, you just go to low rise, the Du Bois house, and sit.
Right.
And just sit, wait for somebody to walk through, and you were good.
I was telling somebody that on Facebook, they saw a video and they commented on another colleague of ours. And I said, look, you could just get up. Like in the middle of the night, you get 1 o'clock in the morning, you could go to the desk and there might be somebody there.
That's right. And that was important in our survival because in class, you would be one of two at the most. And you would be in groups with people. And some of the classmates, they were nice enough, but then you see them on Locust Walk and they don't see you. I hated that.
You hated it?
Really? We just sat there for 3 hours last night working on a project and you can't see me? So that part, I don't know how much I really thought about it. It was just like, that's the way it was.
That's the way it was.
People had to speak to each other. You were ostracized if you did not walk. If you walked past another Black person and didn't speak.
So to get clear, because this is something that we know, we talk about often.
Right.
When we were on, there was a main, on Penn's campus, there's like 3 different places that people would walk, right? So there was the walk, which was Locust Walk.
Right.
Then there was also Spruce and Walnut. Would you say those are the 3 corridors?
Yes.
But if there were times where, you know, the walk was a strategic, as well, it was like the high street. The walk was like the high street,
on the walk.
right? So if you wanted to be seen, right, you sometimes would walk over the walk, right, because you knew that you were going to run into people, right? But if you sometimes people say, I don't want to see this person, or I don't want to deal with that. So you walk on either Walnut,
right,
or Spruce.
right, exactly.
And Walnut was north. I don't remember which one street is north.
It's one block over.
Right. So Locust is in the middle, if you guys can imagine, and then Walnut is either here, and then Spruce is in the other direction, right?
Right.
So the walk was one of the central corridors, and what Lisa's saying is that you'd work with people, or even sometimes see them at a party.
That's right.
Having a good time. Next thing you know, the next day, they walk right by you, right?
Right, exactly. And then, you know, it was also with the male-female relationships. You know, you like this guy, but you see him on the walk talking to somebody else, and now your whole day is ruined. And then we used to walk, and it's interesting because the walk was cobblestone, or it was bricks.
Right.
And so freshmen, it's crazy because freshmen always trip. But by the time you're a sophomore, you don't trip anymore. It's just the weirdest thing. But that's how it was.
And we did, you know, we did take academics seriously, I think. But there was this element of, when we were in class, it did not feel as if we were really welcome, and that just may have been, you know, our perception.
Yeah.
But there were a lot of controversies that occurred during the time, you know, so you couldn't necessarily point to just that alone. It was like we weren't welcome because there were professors that were making wild statements, and we won't go into detail. We can save that for some other time. But let's just say it was a challenge, right?
And you know what? I know that there were professors that didn't say the right thing, and I know engineering, they struggled a lot. But one of the things that my mother told me before I left, she said, go get to know your teachers. So that was part of my strategy. So I would go sit in the teacher's face just for no reason. I would come up with a question. Can you explain this to me? And then I even went so far as to know the
math teacher
administrators at Wharton. So I can't remember exactly why I started going there, but there were 2 administrators that I would go and sit in their office just because. Hey, Doctor, I can't remember his name.
What, were you involved?
Dr. Whitney.
Dr. Whitney. What about Dr. What's his name? Constant, or was it Nick Constant that you talk about all the time?
I love that guy. I'll talk more about him when I talk about the accident. But, But my point is that when, you go in there and you sit, you don't have to say anything. It doesn't matter, you know? So I go in, I used to say, yeah, Dr. Whitney, I'm really trying. I'm really getting my grades up. knowing I wasn't studying like I should be, but I would go in there and tell him, and you know what? He knew who I was.
Right,
and
sure.
So when I had the car accident,
Mm-hmm.
they're like, oh, who? Lisa Andujar? Check, 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 check. Everything fell into place. And Nick Constant was my legal studies teacher.
Right.
And I went and chatted with him, you know, back in, I think it was by junior to senior. So junior year, I had him.
Mm-hmm.
And I would go and talk to him, and was saying, at some point he said, oh, you should talk to blah, blah, blah. What do you want to do? And, oh, you're in the business school. What do you have planned for the summer? I don't know. I need an internship. Oh, here, call this person. Antoinette Malvo. She's my former student. She works at American Express. Here's my resume. Bam, I got an internship. And what was it? It was some crazy amount of money. I think it was $500 a week. Or $1,000 a week. It was some amount of money where the summer of 1987, I was like,
was
yes.
paid. Was paid.
Where are we going? Yeah, let's do that.
But look, I remember you talking about Nick Constant when we were in school. Yeah. I remember, because just so you guys are clear, I used to go over to Lisa's apartment at school, her dorm room.
He was like our fifth
the other dorm mates, how do you call it, roommates. And Lisa, I'm telling you, it was like, I would just, the same way that you would go to the Wharton administrators, I would go to your dorm and I would just hang out and sit at that table that was right by the door, right? Because there was a table, like a little table.
That's right, the table by the door, yeah.
I used to sit there and listen to you guys talk.
Exactly.
So that was what I did. And I didn't do, I mean, you were one of many that I did that with. And I'm not ashamed to admit it. So, so let's go back. So you got this, you had a great experience with the professors. The ones that you were, or administrators, the specific ones that you were connected to, or you made the connection to.
That's right.
And
that was intentional. And I made the connection with the financial aid office too.
Right.
I started working there, and then, whenever I needed, I would go and argue with Miss Thurman, who had A through D, alphabet. Please, Miss Thurman, I need some money. I would take out my money. I would put like the $2 that I had on her desk. I'm like, that's all I have to eat. I need money. But that's another thing my mother says: do not leave the financial aid office until they say yes.
Right.
So I would sit there.
And look, that was another, there were so many different things back then, but the financial aid office was ground zero of one of many ground zeros at Penn, right? So a lot of us had to line up to get that bill covered or paid before we were allowed to start classes. And, I can't even tell you how I got through, Lisa. The way that went for me, I have no memory except for the end, right before graduation. But I won't even belabor you with that story. That's for another time. But it was a serious thing for Black students at Penn. And it was another thing that bonded us, right? I mean, because we bonded in a way that I think most people don't even realize that was another.
It was.
Yes. So look, you mentioned, you talked about the accident. I want you to, tell us what happened then. I remember, I'll just give you guys briefly. It was during one of the breaks, like holiday breaks, right?
Right.
And I'll let you go into it. It was, I think, probably my freshman year or sophomore year, which was your sophomore or junior year, right?
It was during junior year.
During junior year.
No. During senior year.
It was senior year. So
during senior year.
You explain what took place and sort of what happened with your accident.
So, like I said, summer 1987, from junior to senior year, I was balling in New York. I come back, I'm like, oh, all I have is one more year. And so I take my appropriate classes, and then I say, I'm going to take this class called On Death and Dying. And it's over the break, and it's 1 week. You sit there, you write a paper, bam.
Yeah,
I only have 3 classes. You took it?
Yes, I did.
Oh my goodness. I got to hear about it. So, because I never made it to the class. But, and then my thought was, then I have 3 classes my final semester at Penn, graduate, I can do what I want. All my core classes were taken care of and everything. So I go home, I have a good time. And this is at a point in my life where I'm feeling really good. Like, okay, I think I've gotten over all these, you know, when you're in college, you learn about yourself and you're growing and you're like, have all these insecurities, feeling secure. I'm like, things are going well. And I see these guys, this one guy I knew over the break, and he says, hey, we're driving to Philly on Sunday. Like, hey, I need a ride. So I get this ride with this guy. I don't know who the other 2 people were. They were his friends. And we drive along, and I remember the guy was driving a little crazy. So I close my eyes, I say a prayer, and I'm in the back seat. And this is before back seats had real seat belts. Right. So we're driving along, and I said, I'm just gonna go to sleep. I say a prayer, and I wake up, and I'm in the hospital. And so apparently the hatchback to the car, he had a Toyota Celica, hatchback. And the hatchback opened, I went out the back and landed face first on the concrete, on the New Jersey Turnpike. So Trenton, right. So, yeah.
So you don't remember, let's just be clear, you went to sleep and the next thing you know, you were in the hospital.
Well, I went to sleep and I was having this dream of me reaching out. And I was trying to hold on to something because my uncle had a Cadillac and it had this strap in the back seat, you know, where you could hold on. And I remember reaching out for that, and then I thought, this isn't my uncle's car. And that's the only thing I remember. They said I was conscious and was able to respond. A doctor stopped on the turnpike and helped me. And fortunately, I was near a trauma center in Trenton. So they took me there, and they had to intubate me and all of this. And the crazy thing is that when I was there, I didn't know what had happened. So I'm thinking, wow, I feel really sick. I don't, you know, and then, wow, that's so nice. My father came all the way here from LA. How wonderful. Like, it never dawned on me that, I'm like, you are about to die, girl. Get yourself together.
Not a thought in your head.
No, it was, and then I remember hearing them, because at this point now my face and eyes are swollen shut. I can't talk because I'm intubated, which is a very uncomfortable feeling. And I hear them talking, and my aunt was there, who I hadn't seen in a couple of years, but she worked at Mount Sinai in Manhattan. And I hear them saying, we should really move her to Mount Sinai. And the thought that I had was, please don't make me take the train. I just can't. It's hilarious. That's how the mind works. It protects you.
Right, I understand.
And I heard my uncle's voice, the one with the Cadillac, and I was like, oh, good. Uncle Joe can drive us. That guy. But in fact, they flew me in a helicopter.
Right. You think it's an easy. Oh man.
I landed in Central Park like a celebrity, and I wish I could enjoy, thinking about it now, I wish I could have enjoyed it, but you know, I was dying. They said that if I lived, that I would have brain damage, but to really prepare for me to die. And what's interesting is that I still have some of the same doctors. And recently, one of the doctors told me that the older, they were young interns and everything.
Yes.
He said they told them not to try to save me.
Right.
When I got to Mount Sinai, and he said, no, we could do it, him and his group. And they saved my life. It was like, when, you know, man, you don't know who's watching you.
Yes.
Has that impact.
I get it.
And I know they were my doctors, but to have that faith that I could do it. And so I was in ICU, and the whole world started coming in and saw me, and my face was swollen. I looked like myself. And then I remember asking for orange pineapple juice. But because of this is when my mother was like, I don't think she knows what happened.
Right. When you asked for the juice?
Yeah, because I was adamant about it. I couldn't talk, which makes no sense. I couldn't see, I couldn't talk. I had to write everything. I was like, where's that pineapple orange juice? Like, you can't have any. I had a stomach tube feeding me. So my mother finally sits down and she says, Lisa, there was an accident. Because the whole time I'm thinking, this is my last semester at Penn.
Right. You're still in the
plan.
Yeah, I understand.
I have a plan. And the whole time I'm like, well, I could miss 3-4 weeks and catch up and
right. I understand.
And my mother finally says, Lisa, there was an accident. And I'm like, that's when I realized, I'm like, damn.
Then it all came together for you?
Yeah, this is going to change my whole life. It all came together, and it was devastating, you know?
And how, when you say change your life, I mean, you know, since you mentioned it, how did it change your life? I mean,
well, I look different.
I remember.
Yeah, and you know, I got better and everything. There was a lot of support from Penn. People would come visit when they came to the city. Everybody sent these big giant cards that I still have, and the support just meant so much to me. And it also showed my mother and the rest of my family that I hung out with a good group of people. I had a lot of good people around me who really cared about me, and so I got out. And then it's interesting because being in the hospital was hard enough. So I had broken facial, I had facial surgery, something's wrong with my ear. And then the main thing was that I had a cracked skull, which could lead to, I forgot what it's called, but I couldn't have spinal fluid leaking out. And so that was the biggest thing. They had to shave my hair, and there's a scar in there, whatever. And they had to take tissue from my leg and fix me up. So all of that I had to go through, my eyes, my mouth, everything. And so, and I had a trach, and that's how I could breathe, because then I couldn't eat. So I got hooked on cooking shows that I would watch. But I got out, and the day I got out was so interesting, because you're like, I just gotta get out of here. I gotta get out. I gotta get out. And then we go downstairs, and my aunt is picking me up, and I see the outside, and I'm like, oh my God, I gotta go out. I got scars all over me. I got this trach in my throat. So that was hard. That was as hard as being in the hospital. Then I gotta go back to Penn because, well, the first thing I have to do is graduate. I have to march in that graduation for the class, with the class of 88. So
now, how important, why was that important? Why was that important? Because you had not finished, but I remember you requested to march with them, right?
That's right, because that was my class. We came in together in 84.
Uh-huh.
In 84, and it was important just to be there. It was something I had thought about. That's what I think about during this pandemic. I feel so badly for the students that didn't get that opportunity.
Yes.
But I had to be in that class. And like I said, Nick Constant, who was my legal studies teacher, had become the assistant to the president, Sheldon Hackney.
Right.
During the time I was there. And so, hey, Nick Constant came to visit me in Queensbridge Projects. We were like, take a cab. He's like, I'm gonna take a train, walk down. I'm like, no, you're gonna die. But he did, that's what he did. He came to visit me. And then, you know, he said, what, you want to be in the book? He made sure my name's in the book. I had a cap and gown that
so wait a minute. So you officially didn't, you were in with the class, but you officially didn't graduate until
December.
But I remember you were like angling for like 88 because you wanted to.
I had to have 88. 88 during heyday, we're like 88, that means we graduate.
Right.
Yeah, all little chances.
I remember you like, I'm gonna graduate at 88. Like you were fixed on making that date, right?
Yep. So the accident happened January 3rd. I got out of the hospital March 16th. I turned 22 March 23rd. And then I did physical therapy because I was going to walk down Locust Walk with my graduating class. And that's what I did. And I had a trach in my throat. I didn't care. My face was swollen. I got scars. I was like, I'm going to be there. I don't care. And my hair was cut. It was shorter at the top.
Yep.
But I was there. And when he said, will the graduating class, the Wharton graduating class of 1988 stand up, I was there. And I can't think, except for the birth of my daughter, of a better day of my life. That I was there, and you know, I saw people's parents and they came and hugged me and said, you know, we were praying for you. We're so glad to see you. But the other thing I saw was people's reactions, not knowing what to say.
Right.
And that would bug me. It's like, I'm Lisa, I'm still Lisa. Please, let's just get past this whole over that. So I always felt like I had to comfort and just be like, hey, it's me, chill. Okay, yeah, I know there's something in my throat. It's okay, it's all right. So I did that, and then I got better, and then I went back for that final semester, which was really difficult because all my friends, except for you guys, you know, were gone. But the class of 89, and I mean, I'm gonna get emotional, but it meant so much to me. And even now that you guys can include me, and because I know that without you guys, I wouldn't have made it. And so all my friends weren't there. I was fortunate, thanks to Nick Constant, that he hooked me up with a single room. Telling you.
Were you in Du Bois? You were in Du Bois. You were in Du Bois that final semester, right? Or where were you?
No, I was in East. No, not East, South.
South. But I remember when when you first came into Du Bois during the fall, right? During the fall, right? So I remember seeing you come in to Du Bois the fall of '88. A lot.
Everybody was like.
Everybody was looking.
Oh what the fuck did you see, Lisa? I was like, all right, when are they going to get over this?
Right. Well, look, Lisa, come on. I mean, you can understand. I mean, I hear what you're saying, and I understand it 100%. But you can understand, a lot of people don't know how to deal with this kind of thing. And the irony is that you're like, oh, I'm going back to Penn to take this class called Death and Dying.
Right.
And and like here comes, you know, your experience. And I will tell you about that course. A lot of us took that course, Lisa. We took it the year before you were supposed and word got out. It was the weirdest course. It was one of the weirdest courses ever. I got an A.
That's it.
That's what we wanted, right? I got an A, but it was weird. And I remember, and I'm not going to call any person out on this, but that person knows who they are. I mean, people were like trying to hook up during that class. Like that was, I mean, it was not, people weren't taking it seriously.
Yeah.
Right. But I will say that by the time the class was over or throughout the class, there was some information that was laid down. Like it wasn't an easy course. We thought it was like, it's going to be a walk in the park.
Yeah. Right.
And afterwards we were like, ooh,
Really?
It's hard for people, would you say?
Yeah, to deal with death, dying, changes, so I'm grateful. I never say, oh, I wish I didn't have this car accident, because it taught me so much. Like, I feel like I've advanced years just because of that. And
when you say advance, what do you mean by advance? Advance just in years, meaning years of what?
And understanding people, reactions to people. I don't get maybe as worked up over things.
Mm-hmm.
The most I do is try to live my life. I know how critical every single moment is. So I was already like, oh yeah, let's do it. But now I'm like, let's do it. Let's take the time to recognize that we're doing it. Because even now, like just this discussion alone, this is gonna be a moment we'll talk about for years.
Yes.
It's a special moment. And I remember being laid up in the hospital and thinking about my summer where I was bawling, and that's what got me through.
Wait a minute. So just that moment of how you felt during that internship, and you had the money come in.
Yes.
And you were like, you would focus on that? You would focus on that, or you
would
remember?
I would. And the other thing that I had that I remembered was that Christmas, I went to my aunt's house. And her mother came up from North Carolina with a carload of food already cooked. And I ate, and I ate, and I ate. I ate so much. So when I couldn't eat, I said, I had that meal. I had that meal, and I had that meal. I clung to that.
Right.
And I would go through what I ate. And when I was later, I would go through where I went, what dates I went on when I was over the summer. And yeah, it kept me going.
Yeah, look, it's amazing. I knew when I decided to, it's not even like I decided to do these interviews. It came as a result of an emergency on many, many levels.
Right.
And things like this have happened to me in my life before, where there have been crises, and I have been very quick to respond to either repair or to move into place. And that's where this is coming from. What do you think? What are your thoughts? And we're going to close with this because we're going long. With what is happening now with the COVID, and then now with the political unrest that we're experiencing. What are your thoughts?
Well, COVID is just craziness. I mean, it's unbelievable. But I feel like it might be, I know me, I'm running all the time. I don't even see neighbors because my daughter has this. I'm going here. We're part of Jack and Jill, and I have this meeting, that meeting, and, you know, so I feel that it might have been a way to say, everybody needs to take a chill pill a little bit. Let's relax, get into your thoughts, make sure that you're doing things that are right for you, your family, and the community. How can you make the world around you better? And so I think that that's what it's forced us to do. And it could be kind of a sign. I wouldn't say it's like God sent this, but you know, it's a way for us to take this challenging time and really think about our thoughts and what exactly are we doing with our lives. And like yesterday, my daughter's not here. She's at my mother's house, but I did something that I used to do. I'm an only child. So I spend a lot of time by myself. And one of the things I really, as you know, David, I love music.
Yes.
So I actually spent a whole 2 hours playing my songs as loud as possible, which I do sometimes with my daughter. But then I saw my mic and my karaoke, and now you can get all the songs you want on YouTube. It's like a dream for me. I was Mariah Carey. I was Stephanie Mills up in here. And I just realized that I hadn't done that in so long. Just be with myself and do whatever I want, pretend I'm on stage singing next to Alicia Keys or whatever. And so I think I'm going to take this crisis like that. Yeah. And with regard to Black Lives Matter, you know, what's there to say? This has been going on. I'm glad that people are finally waking up, but I don't really want to talk about it anymore. Just make sure the Black people get the jobs that they're supposed to get. Make sure they're not discriminated against. And I really feel that it's on an individual level. So even when the corporations put out these statements about how they feel, the corporate policy and things like that, it really is down to that one person who, like Lorraine, who said, I'm gonna help you get a job because we connected on Criminal Minds, or something like that. Like, she saw me as a person, and that's what people have to do. And it's not on us to do that. It's not on Black people to do this. It's on everybody else who's racist to stop playing around. Like, what's her name? Amy Cooper in the park.
Right, yeah.
And we know Amy Cooper. We work with Amy Cooper every single day. I mean, everyone in corporate America has had an Amy Cooper moment where she starts crying because she didn't get the promotion, or she didn't get the dates of vacation that she wanted, or the project that we know that woman. This isn't news for us.
No.
You know, this is not news for us. I'm just glad that the world is seeing it, and we have the time to write our letters to politicians and make our statements and teach our kids about this kind of thing. But in reality, you should have been teaching your child about this as a Black person, definitely.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
And it doesn't have to be in your face. Like we watch Survivor and The Amazing Race. And inevitably, one of those people is going to say something racist. They're going to say something against the Black people. They're going to go with The Amazing Race. They're going to go to Africa, and like on the show, one of the ladies, one of the white women said, oh, I want a little black baby, like it's a souvenir.
Right.
And my daughter hears this, and these are the kind of things that our children need to learn to be in tune with. This little subtle comments that will put you off and make you, challenge who you are. Like, am I a real person, or am I like a little black baby? Sits on somebody's desk.
It's deep, isn't it? It's deep. I was on the phone talking to someone, and someone who I had spoken, I briefly told you this, someone who was a colleague at work, not working directly with. And I basically said, hey, look, I was there for the Me Too. I saw that. Right. And of course, I lived the Black Lives Matter. You know what I mean? Like, in other words, this isn't new, as you're saying. And even if I had said it or told you what my experience was, it still would not have resonated with you because it's coming from me. Yeah. Right. So, it's deep on many levels, many levels. Lisa?
And one last point is, I think about the ladies who bought their children college entrance.
Oh, right.
For like what, LA people. I believe that's as much an affront as I think it all goes together.
Yes.
It's like Amy Cooper, like this woman thought her way. My child is in private school. I'm spending money. I'm teaching her, giving her extra this, extra that, so she could get into school, and they're paying their way to get in.
Right. Yeah.
That's it too. Count that put that on the list too.
Yes. We're living in interesting times. I mean, look, and it's a blessing that we have been able to come together to talk it out like we used to.
Yes.
Because I used to go over our house a lot and be talking. We'd be talking. We would talk like this. And you know what? I think a lot of people don't realize, this is what we'll say. I'll say this. One of the special things about Penn was that there were people who were friends that most other people in the community didn't know they were friends. This was always, I think, interesting, right? So we'll have a little bit of this. I mean, the people that your roommates and so on, so forth, they know that I was always over there. But there are a lot of people that didn't know that, or I even, spoke to you on a regular. And so I want to thank you, for making yourself available.
Yeah.
And speaking with us and sharing your thoughts and your experience and your life. And we'll be in touch.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much.
Look, have a great weekend. Oh, and it's 4:00 here. And I will let you go. Take care of yourself.
All right, then. You too.
Love you, baby.
Okay. Bye-bye.